All right, let's get right into it. We're going to take a classic spiritual idea, Florence Scovel Shinn's law of non-resistance, and kind of strip away all the mystical woo-woo language. What you're left with is a seriously powerful, super practical tool for navigating modern life with way more calm and, believe it or not, a lot more control.
You know the feeling, right? The more you desperately fight a problem, the bigger and more monstrous it seems to get. It's this weird paradox, and it's a trap that so many of us fall into without even realizing it. I want you to picture this. You're in a pool, and you're trying to force a big inflatable beach ball underwater. It takes a ton of energy, doesn't it? You're straining, your muscles are burning, and you're focused on just one thing, holding it down. But here's the thing, you're not getting rid of the ball. All that energy you're using just builds up pressure until, whoosh, it explodes out of the water with even more force than before. That right there is the essence of resistance.
So what is actually going on here? Well, resistance is basically a defense mechanism. It gives us this little illusion, this false sense of control when things feel totally chaotic. But in reality, all that pushing, all that fighting, it just feeds the problem with your attention and your energy. It leaves you completely drained and stuck exactly where you started.
Okay, so if fighting back doesn't work, what does? Let's try to reframe non-resistance. Think of it not as some mystical law, but as a strategic principle, a conscious, deliberate choice to yield. The ancient Taoists had the absolute perfect metaphor for this: water. I mean, think about it. Water is the softest, most yielding thing in the world, yet over time, it can wear away solid rock. It doesn't fight the rock, it doesn't try to smash it, it just flows around it, adapts its path, and eventually it gets where it's going with maximum efficiency and minimum effort. That's the whole strategy in a nutshell. And when you put these two approaches side by side, the contrast is just stark. Resistance is a state of constant torment. It's brittle and forceful. You're always reacting, and all that energy just makes the obstacle stronger. Non-resistance, though, is a state of power. It's flexible, you're composed, and you respond instead of reacting. It allows challenges to just dissolve. And look, this isn't some fringe idea that Shinjen just made up. This is a timeless piece of what you could call a mosaic truth. Shinjen called it non-resistance. The ancient Stoics talked about managing our impressions to protect our inner ruling faculty. And today, modern psychology calls it response flexibility and cognitive appraisal, basically understanding that events themselves are neutral until we slap a label on them. It's all different words for the same core strategy of mastering our inner world. Now we have to talk about the single biggest misunderstanding about this whole idea: the fear that if you practice non-resistance, you're just going to become a passive doormat. Let me be really clear. That could not be further from the truth. Real non-resistance isn't weakness. It's an incredible form of strength. It's the ability to regulate your own emotional state so you can act from a place of clarity and purpose, not just from a knee-jerk reaction. You know, even Aristotle had something to say about this. He basically argued that the goal isn't the absence of a response. That would be a failure. The goal is the mastery of the response, knowing when, how, and why to act. It's about responding rationally, with intention, not just lashing out because of anger or fear. So let's get this crystal clear. There are 3 ways you can respond. Passivity is when you let your boundaries just get trampled. Aggression is when you go and smash through someone else's boundaries. But assertive non-resistance, that's the powerful middle ground. You calmly protect your own space while also respecting theirs. It's calm, it's confident, and it's incredibly effective.
Okay, that's enough theory. What does this actually look like in the real world? Let's get into some solid, everyday examples.
Let's say you have a difficult boss. The resistance approach is to go home and replay every unfair comment in your head, right? You just feel your own frustration and burn yourself out. The non-resistance approach? You observe their behavior, you professionally and clearly state your boundaries, something like, I can absolutely have that report to you by 5, but I won't be able to stay late tonight. And you channel all that energy you saved into doing amazing work. You're not fighting them, you're managing the situation.
Or how about in a relationship? When your partner gets upset, our first instinct, that's resistance, is to get defensive, right? We throw up a wall and the argument just blows up. The non-resistant path is to consciously make the choice to just listen. Not to agree necessarily, but to understand their perspective. That simple act creates space. It de-escalates the tension and actually opens the door for a real resolution.
This even works with our own personal habits. Say you're trying to quit something. Fighting a craving with shame and telling yourself you're weak just makes the urge stronger. It's that beach ball all over again. So, instead, what if you just acknowledged the craving? You notice it without judging yourself. There's the urge. By observing it instead of wrestling with it, you take away its power, and it eventually just passes on its own.
So, how can you start using this, like right now? Here's a super simple 3-step practice you can use anytime you feel that tension of resistance building up inside. The entire point of this little exercise is to create a moment of pause. There's that saying, between stimulus and response, there is a space. It's in that tiny little gap that's where your freedom and your power truly live. This reset helps you find that space.
Okay, here it is, the non-resistance reset. Step 1, acknowledge. Just state the simple fact of what's happening. My boss just criticized my work in front of everyone. No drama, no story, just the fact. Step 2, breathe. Take one slow, deep, intentional breath. This isn't just about relaxing, it's a physiological circuit breaker for your body's fight or flight response. And step 3, choose. Based on your values, professionalism, integrity, calm, what is your next right move? This isn't about what you feel like doing, it's about what you choose to do.
All right, let's bring it all home and quickly recap the most important takeaways from all this. First, always remember that resistance is a trap that just makes things worse. Second, non-resistance is a powerful strategy. It's about being strong and flexible, just like water. Third, and this is so important, this is a form of assertive self-command. It is not about being a doormat. And finally, you now have a tool, the non-resistance reset, that you can use anytime, any place to put this into practice.
So I'll leave you with this question. Just think about your life right now. What's one situation, one person, or maybe even one feeling that you can choose to stop fighting just for today? In our next explainer, we're going to build on this and look at Shinn's laws of karma and forgiveness, so stick around for that. But for now, just consider this. In a world that is constantly telling us to push harder, fight more, and never give up, what if the greatest battles are actually won by having the wisdom to strategically stand still? You can find the full series on this in our playlist. I'll see you in the next one.